Good to be with you on this beautiful Friday morning. Let me run through a couple of things with you. I think you're all aware that we're building a new city hall over on Burley Avenue, and I would invite you to drive by there and see how things are coming. I know that there's a few people in our community who still don't realize that's happening. They're telling us they're on schedule, and if that schedule stays the way it's supposed to, we should be moving into that city hall next July. But we're going to have a little ceremony over there next week. We're probably not going to invite the community to come participate because of the COVID situation, but we're going to do a couple of things, and we'll probably post it online so people can see what's happening. We just want to make sure and acknowledge what's happening over there and make you aware of it. So just grateful for all the work that's taken place over there. And along that line, just wanted to talk to you about the growth of our community and the things that are going on. I think most of you also are aware that we this week had the grand opening of Grace Assisted Living, and what a beautiful facility that is. That's going to service this region for a lot of years to come. Just a beautiful facility. We also have a truss plant that's being built over there in that same area. And I've had the opportunity over the last few weeks to talk to several of our developers who are working the land that is owned from the interstate down into our community, and I'm just tickled with what they're doing. They're being very methodical about it. I think most people are aware that because of COVID, things have kind of shut down. Most businesses and such are kind of pulling their horns in and just trying to keep status quo and stay alive. Once this virus passes and we're going to get back to some kind of normal, we've got some folks making some great plans and making some wonderful contacts with people to see some real beneficial growth happen to our community. I wanted to talk to you just for a minute again about the merger, the talk of city consolidation. If you remember when I addressed this last, I kept looking back at my notes because I just knew there was one other thing that I wanted to mention to you and couldn't find it in my notes. Well, it was shortly after we had released that video that all of a sudden I remembered, and there's something I do want to talk to you about. Number one, I would encourage those of you who would like to go ahead and get into the Idaho statutes, the code, and if you look at Title 50, Chapter 21 is where city consolidation is talked about. It's not super long and it's not really that complicated. And if you want to, you can get on there and it'll tell you what the process is and what the ramifications of that would be. And it's one of the ramifications from that consolidation I wanted to talk to you about. We're aware that as a city we have a debt with the Northwest Sewer Interceptor. It's been a real blessing to our community. It's the reason that we can have growth right now, is that we have that sewer project taken care of. But that was a fairly expensive project. I want to make sure that people understand that if a merger happened, if it ever got to that point and the two cities consolidated, the law tells us what we would do with that debt. That debt sits at about $11 million right now. And what would happen is, even though we would become part of Pocatello, they would geographically cut out this little portion that was formerly known as Chubbuck, and the citizens of this area would continue to pay that debt. That debt would not be shared across the board with everybody. The facility, the actual interceptor project, would belong to Pocatello, but the people of Chubbuck would continue to pay that debt. You know, when I stopped and thought about it, well, that makes sense. We're the ones that took that debt on, and it wouldn't be appropriate to ask everybody who hadn't taken that debt on to take it on, but we do need to recognize that that would be one of the ramifications. That was the thing that I knew I wanted to mention to you and just couldn't find. I've had the opportunity to have several people in the last couple of weeks come in and talk to me about this, and again, I'm not super concerned because I am not hearing anybody say that they are for this and that they'd like to see it happen. And so I would just encourage you to make sure you educate yourself on what we're being asked. It is just an advisory question. It's not, there's no enforceability there. It's very similar to taking a poll. But again, I would encourage you one last time that if you would like to see it go away, the easy way will be in a month on November 3rd to just vote no. Or earlier. I know a lot of people have already voted. Many are voting right now, and I would encourage you to continue that, keep that up. We need to get people out to vote. Just a quick comment about COVID-19. Most of you have got to be aware this morning that We found out our president and his wife, the First Lady, have tested positive. That's something we should all be concerned about. They need to be in our prayers along with all others that are suffering with this. But I just wanted to talk to you about how we're doing as a community. And I'm so grateful for the good things that are happening in our community to keep ourselves healthy. I have had the opportunity to hear how many in our community have the virus, how many are being actively tracked. And I'm grateful that the numbers are low. Generally, they can be counted on two hands, and the last report I had, it could have been counted on one hand. Now, I think there's a lot of factors to that, but one of them is I think that we're being appropriately careful to take care of each other and our health, and I would just encourage you to continue in that. One last thing that I wanted to share with you, and I'm not positive, I may have shared this with you before, but even if I have, I want to share it with you again. Water. It's an important thing that we have in our community, and it's literally the lifeblood of our community. And water is a precious commodity, and we do live on the edge of a desert and have a desert climate, and so we need to make sure and take care of water. And I've talked to you about that before, but we put together some figures on the costs of water as far as what the city charges for water. And I just wanted you to know that the base rate is $24. And we put that into this, if you just take those numbers and start talking about what it costs for water. This was just an interesting thing that we put together. If you go over to Jackson's and buy a bottle of water, it'll cost you $1.75. And if you buy it at Costco in bulk, it's about 18 cents. And do you know how many, with the rates that we charge, do you know how many bottles of water you could fill for $1? If you use usage only, it's right at 7,000, and if you add the base rate, it's about 2,000. So let's say you can have 2,000 bottles of water for $1. Now, I think the thing that I wanted to say about that is we recognize that these kinds of things are very important to our community, and every once in a while, people have a tendency to ask about the costs of different things that the city produces, and that's appropriate. But I just want you to know that this is one thing that has shown to me that we truly have a wonderful commodity in water, and I believe that we're giving it at a wonderful price. I remember one of the first things I was told when I was elected to the city council. One of our individuals said, well, you know, literally water is free, you have to pay for delivery. And there's a process for getting that water to your home, and that's what we pay for. Just grateful for each of you, though, and for what you do. Let's make sure and continue to take care of one another, and let's make sure and be positive about the things that are going on in our community, and to be actively engaged, that we can be part of the wonderful processes that are taking place. Thank you, and I'll see you again another time.